the city of disappearing buildings. The world is full of conspiracy theories. They drift across continents, change language, change symbols, change faces. They contradict each other, collapse under scrutiny, reform somewhere else. And yet, they lean, quietly, repeatedly, toward Washington, D.C. There's something about this city that makes even ordinary moments feel slightly coded. You arrive here expecting something hidden. You find nothing hidden, not yet. That is the first correction. The streets are clean. The geometry is certain. The dome of the United States Capitol rests exactly where it should, as if the idea of elsewhere never quite reached it. Everything is visible. Everything is accounted for. And still, something does not settle. Europe carries its weight differently. Power there often feels older, more diffused, sometimes embedded in culture rather than centralized visibility. Walking through places like Rome or Paris, the sense is not that something is being hidden right now, but that history itself has layered over truths again and again. The mystery feels sedimentary, not secrets being actively managed, but meanings that have accumulated, shifted, and been reinterpreted across centuries. There's also a tonal difference. DC feels procedural, structured, almost like a system that knows it is being watched and therefore maintains clarity, even when complexity remains beneath the surface. Europe, by comparison, often feels more ambiguous in a softer way, less about control, more about inheritance. The unknown there doesn't always feel intentional. Sometimes it feels like time simply moved on without fully explaining itself. If Europe is a long memory, DC is a present tense, and present tense always feels a little more suspicious. So you begin to notice the smaller things first. Corners that feel slightly different depending on how you approach them. Windows that reflect more than they should. Streets that seem to remember you selectively. And then, the buildings. Not hidden, just inconsistent. There are buildings you pass once, maybe twice, that you can't seem to find again. Not gone, not destroyed, just absent from recall in a very specific way. You try to look them up later. Nothing. Not even a trace. One of them stood a block behind a street I know well. Narrow, stone-faced, windows too tall for the proportions. It didn't feel abandoned. I remember thinking it looked patient, not waiting, just already there in a way that didn't depend on being noticed. The next day I went back. The street was still there. The building wasn't. Not replaced, not removed. Just not part of the arrangement anymore. You learn not to ask too many direct questions here, because the answers don't come as answers. They come as adjustments. I've started to understand something. These buildings aren't hidden. They're simply not committed. They appear when alignment allows it. When your attention lands at the correct angle, when you're not trying too hard to see them. And the moment you fix them too firmly in your mind, they release. Sometimes I wonder if they're older than the city, or newer, or neither. All I know is this. The maps are not wrong. They're just written for a version of the city that agrees to stay still. And not everything here does. And slowly the thought shifts. What if the theories were never trying to describe hidden organizations, or secret control, or unseen rulers? What if they were attempts, imperfect, distorted, almost desperate, to describe a place where reality does not need to stay still? And the longer I live here, the harder it becomes to call it by its given name, Washington, D.C., because that name assumes permanence, and permanence is the one thing this place never quite promises. If I could change it, if I could say it the way it actually feels, I think I would call it the city of disappearing buildings.